Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm calling to order the April 22nd, 2026 Select Board meeting. This meeting is a continuation of our meeting the other evening in which we voted to end our meetings at 9 p.m. and continue that agenda to the next meeting. So that's what we're here to do tonight. Mr. Muccio, do we have a need for non-public?
We do. Under Chapter 91A, Section 3, Paragraph 2L, legal.
Legal, okay. Okay. We have no minutes to review. Those are in process. Public input. I see no one here for public input. So we're going to go right past public input. There are no public hearings. There is no bulk vote. We did that at our last session. Board and committee appointments, we did that at our last session. So we're in the new business section of our meeting. And for the benefit of the public and for us as colleagues, I personally think this is an important part of what we do here. Tonight we're gonna set up amongst ourselves how we conduct ourselves, our ethical rules, our rules of procedure, how the chairs of our committees should operate, and who's assigned to our committees, and confirm all of that. So this is important stuff, and I hope that we can get through it in as much detail as we can. And then the last thing, which I think is really important for all of us, is to start getting through and getting into our board work plan so that we can get lined up with the town manager. So first things first, the first thing on our agenda is the committee list. Last time you saw this, it was a work in process. It still is in draft mode, although it's lightly mentioned as draft. On this list is the names of the people who have been assigned or volunteered to assign themselves to committees. We asterisked those committees that receive funding and are due for quarterly reports. And so let's go through the list. Any comments, corrections, discussion? I think we put the pencils down on assignments. So Linda?
Only one I saw was on the back page, and I believe your term is up in 2027, not 2028.
So you're wishing me out the door sooner rather than later.
I'm just saying, I believe that is the case.
No objection on that. I'll be glad to take a 2028 end of term. I had a question. Anybody else? I had a question on the bike trails. John, you're signed up for the bike trails?
I was.
You are. You're on the list. So I missed the meeting yesterday at the bike trails.
I did too.
You did too. Okay.
Yep,
so
because it was at 9 o'clock and
you were working?
it was at 9 o'clock and I can't be there.
Okay.
I gave up time last summer and I'm just not going to be able to do it this year.
Not meet 9 o'clock meetings or not make the trails?
Not make meetings at 9 or I won't be able to make meetings till after 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Got it. Okay. So somehow we need to get a briefing over to John about the trails issue, and we'll talk about that in a bit. Any other committee assignments, comments, concerns, questions?
Well,
yes, sir.
I'd like to join John on the bike trails.
No objection. Anybody object?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. No objection. John?
Yeah, I'll just defer. Brian can have it instead. I'm all set.
I don't know what that means. You're stepping away from the bike trails?
Yeah, I'm just going to step away.
Okay. Done? Mr.
Well,
Duchesne?
if that's the case, I'll join Brian.
Okay. Yes. And Ms. Murray. Okay. Okay. Do we need a motion for any of that? No? Okay. Done. All right. Where do you want to go from here on the committee assignments, board members? We good?
I'm fine with it. I think it represents what we did.
We've been over this a couple of times. So.
Yeah. If nobody else has any issue, what is here is okay.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve these for the 26-27 season?
So moved.
I have two two
Second.
people.
I'll
so
second whoever
Linda is
made
the
it.
second, on
Whoever did
O'Brien
it.
first. We've amended the committee list to remove 2028 from Mr. O'Brien's end of term to 2027, and we've amended Mr. Thurston to be not on the Bike Trails Committee, Ms. Murray and Mr. Duche. So all those in favor of this?
Can I just?
Yeah, Linda?
I wonder whether we shouldn't put a note down the bottom that Mr. Thurston needs to have committees meet after 2 o'clock. Because I think people should know that.
So what do you want to put down there, Linda?
I would just say Mr. Thurston cannot attend meetings unless they're after 2 o'clock.
Mr. Thurston cannot attend meetings until after 2 p.m. And John, that could be even later at some point, right?
That's my bare minimum. I'm kind of giving up. I'm coming away from my job on an hour and a half. I got home today at 5:30. I fed the dog and I'm out the door.
Do you want us to make it 3? I mean, I
wanna make it three?
want it
Yeah,
as an
3.
information
You
to
wanna make it
the
three?
people.
3.
Okay. More
Yeah,
than
without
one.
a second, we got to work for a living. So Mr. Thurston cannot attend meetings until after 3 p.m.
Great,
You
thank
cool
you.
with that? All right, good. As I have a motion, an amended motion, and a second, all those in favor of adopting this, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, you all good with that, Dave? John?
Yep,
You good? Thank you.
thank you.
All right, next one is Code of Ethics. Is that the next one on the agenda?
Correct. It's the next
All right,
one.
the Code of Ethics. Okay, folks, this is in draft form. This is something that has not been changed this year. However, let's have at it and let's discuss this. I think this is important for us. Anybody want to tee it up? Linda?
Yeah, I like it the way it was. I helped draft it a number of years ago, so I thought
You're
at that
a
time.
drafter?
Yeah, I thought it covered the things we needed. If we need to tweak something, I have no problem, so that's why I'm not going to make any comments.
You think it was perfect as drafted?
I got to say that. Let me tell you, it wasn't just me. There were, Amy worked with me, and I believe Matt Sullivan worked with me at the time.
Oh, cool. Dave, Brian, John?
Fine.
I had nothing that stuck out at me, so I'm okay with it the way it is.
All right, so I got one, and I don't know where it fits. Where does it fit where we say to ourselves, let us avoid any instance, whether by accident or by design, more by accident, where we are directly negotiating as individuals, either for a price or for some consideration. Where does that fit? Is that more in the rules of procedure place? Where do you think it fits? Because I think it's an ethical question as well.
I think it's probably in the RSA.
It's the conflict of interest. And I don't know, let's see.
It's up in the accountability place. It's RSA 21,
Yep,
which is conflict of interest.
yep, that's where it is.
Okay, so how do we deal with that? Are we cool that we're not doing that? Are we cool that we want to just walk a couple of instances around the block here and see whether we need a field ruling on it? Do we feel we're comfortable with all that?
So what do you got in mind? Why do you bring it up?
Honestly, we've had situations where I've heard, from folks who come to the microphone, that there's been conversations about setting prices for boats. Mm-hmm. And we all know about that because, we had a letter and all that kind of stuff. We've had, and so that one I said to myself, just that one alone, that probably is not something we should be doing.
So would that include negotiating conversation with an applicant while we're sitting here in a meeting?
Linda?
Yeah, I was going to try to cover that under cell phone use.
Okay.
I think we need cell phone use. I do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Negotiating a price as an individual and not as a board is something I think we need to, it's in the conflict of interest part, but I think we need to all be aware of it and avoid it. You okay with that?
Yeah, so if someone during a meeting emails me or texts me and says, I would offer $4,000 for a blah, 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 and that's coming to me, that I think has to go to the board.
Yeah.
I don't think we should take those things in at a meeting. First of all, everybody can't hear it. I'm having the issue with the cell phones in terms of messages going back and forth from who's in the audience or somebody else, and then it's part of our discussion. And I think that's not transparent, and I don't believe those things should be part of.
So bring it at a later date.
They can bring it at a later date. We have it on an agenda. We have a written document. I've gotten to the point where I really think we need written documents of that. And when we get to it, and I have places in here, also in terms of research, we need to see the documents of the research to make sure where it comes from.
Yeah.
And so what I was really looking for is not have cell phone information part of our meetings.
Yeah, I do want to get to that as well. I know that people look at me and they go, what is he looking at?
So then that would be computers too.
Well, hang on. And we should talk about it.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it in
no.
the next section. I got this little dashboard up in front of me, and on that dashboard are files I can use, for reference. Like what's what's our capital reserves? What's our planning board documents? I can hit that button and do it. I don't do research. I'm using that for reference. But when we get to talk about this, if you folks think that what I have in front of me, like I have the deliberative session notes, if you think I should shut that thing down, I'll just pull the lid shut.
So what I'll have open on my phone is Legiscan.
Well,
In case there's an RSA that's in question or something, Legiscan would be like having a tab on my computer to Legiscan.
So let's do this, just so that we can do it. We're clear that what we shouldn't be doing is negotiating with people individually as board members, whether it is during board time or whether it is, out in the general public. We just don't do that. We're cool with that, okay? And I don't think there's anything, at least I see from an accountability point of view, that, jumps off the page at me. I don't think I see us doing anything that would bring into question, using our privileged position as select board members to do anything else. John?
So to that point, then if it's not us, then what is the mechanism for that? Is that to Amy, to Barry as the interim town manager, or what's the process for that?
So complete the sentence. I don't know when you say mechanism.
Well, when you said, what you just said a minute ago was you don't want people doing something, what's the conduit for that process?
so I can do it this way. If I did research on a topic, then it would be my responsibility to get it to Amy to get it on the agenda under that category, instead of it coming at the meeting when I don't have a chance to really look at it. My issue, you say you can't do it on the computer, but I might have something like that in my file. I'm not electronic, but, so that we start getting to the point, can we bring our own material, which is what...
For reference.
Yes, for reference. I do it in a file, he does it on a computer.
I can't bring a file with every state statute.
Well,
But that's...
Hang on. Okay, that's a point. Go ahead, John.
I think what I'm trying to clarify is information for something that is on the agenda that, we bring something up and there's a question of something on that particular topic. Do we stop and we say, okay, if somebody finds that has to go through Amy and the applicant and come back to us at another meeting?
Can I take a whack at that?
Yeah.
So when we sit on the planning board, way back when, we would get an application and we would be told by the planner, this application is complete. Remember, we used to get that? And so we didn't need anything else, by and large, right? Other than maybe clarification of terminologies. I think what I see, and I think I'm hearing my colleague here, is we have on occasion been debating something, discussing something, and in from wherever, in from the side comes what I would call new information. And that new information has not been provided to the board for us to look at it and say, I don't agree, the board has not had an opportunity. So our conversation around a business matter, at that point, to me, strikes me as being incomplete, because we don't have complete information. We have side information coming in. Right? Now, that may be good, it may be, but I worry that what we're getting ourselves into is, and this is, I'm going to pick on Brian. Brian makes the point over and over again of our herky-jerky, knee-jerk, and it may be that we're taking late night information and making quick decisions.
So the thing, we will be tabling a lot of stuff then, because when information comes up and then I go, I wonder what that RSA is, and if I don't look it up and I can't convince myself that we're in the right place, it's going to be, we're going to have to table that because I don't know the RSA, I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know this, I don't know that.
Or you may abstain. Okay? My feeling is that we as a board need to get more of the information in the packet. Correct. So that we come here with all the information. And if you think, as you're looking at it, you want to know the RSA, that you get that information after you read it to Amy. I'd like to get it in.
Okay.
You'll have to make that decision, Brian. I'm just finding we get this, and this one says that, and which one is right? Who knows who's got the right RSA? And so I just think I'm to the point where I want things in writing. That's
so
where
I will say this: almost every single thing we decide on any given night has or could have more information garnered in order to make the decision.
So there's a difference, I agree with that. There's a difference between needing a complete packet and I'm gonna misuse your thought here for a second, and the everlasting search for the perfect answer. There ain't any, all right? Which gets back to the, we're kind of bouncing around here, but I think we're getting into some good stuff. It gets back to the fact that we want to put the pencils down on the agenda with Amy midweek. We want to have that board document out the door by Friday, and that doesn't give us much time to do stuff, right? You should get the weekend. But I think there's a responsibility we all bear to kind of look at this board document and go, I can't make a decision on this because I don't have enough information. Here is specifically what I need. Not generally what I need, but I need to know where your point, where's the RSA that tells us we should do that? So I think the responsibility comes on two parts: town management to give us a good packet, and then secondly, for us to review it. And I'll end with that, and then I'll recognize you. And as it relates to good packet, I want to make sure that the stuff that we all agree that should come onto our agenda is meritorious of what we should be debating. Otherwise, we're dibbling. Anyways, Linda, go ahead.
Yeah, and I usually try to do the packet over the weekend, and I look at them, and sometimes I have questions, and I send those questions to the town manager to send to the department head to get that information, and that goes out to all of us. So we are going to get some information afterwards, or I can ask for those answers and just keep it myself. Because sometimes the information comes, and I've got questions, and I'm sure that others do, and so I think that's the other piece we're trying to net out here.
Brian?
So every board member has done exactly what Linda has just said, gone out and got information from themselves, brought it to a meeting, and it hasn't been distributed to all of us.
No, I'm saying my job is
that
to
has
get
happened. That has happened to every one of us. Has at one time or another brought information that we were the only ones that were privy to.
Well, we don't want to do that, right?
And that happens all the time because we get the information from Amy on Friday.
Yeah.
So we look at it and then we're like, well, nothing's supposed to change in this packet because it's all done. Pencils are supposed to be down. And then we have a lot of stuff that's not complete.
So Brian's raising an issue that says maybe one or two of us have had more information than others, and we shouldn't do that. Linda?
Yeah, I want to stop that from coming to the meeting. I'm saying, if we do our packet and we have a question, we send that question to the town manager to get it from the department head, and when that department head answers, it's sent out to everybody.
On Tuesday?
Whatever day.
Wednesday?
Whatever.
Whatever, if that's when they can answer the question. Because it isn't something that people knew that that question was going to be answered. And if I ask it, then I think you all should know I asked. I asked one about white line to white line, what the parking spaces were to plow. You know, I did it ahead of time because the question was there from the last meeting. But if I got something and I read it on Sunday, and that question, I would send it to the town manager and have it go out. And I think you all would gain from getting it. So if all the material in the packet should be in the packet, but if board members have questions, those questions can be answered and sent to the full board.
Brian?
So, I believe that I learn from every person here and every person that's sitting out there. And when I'm in a discussion, and there's two ways that debates go down. The way they used to go down in my family over the dinner table when there was 30 of us together, and everybody was arguing on who was right, who was wrong, who remembered right, who didn't remember right. And it was a bunch of imperfect information. When John says something, or Linda says something, or Paul says something, that can trigger my brain, the way my brain works, to go to a different direction and say, oh, that was a smart thing Linda said, but I wonder about this. But if I don't have the answer and I can't find the answer, then to me, I have to say, we don't have complete information now.
Or when it comes time to taking a decision, you just simply say, I'd prefer to not vote on this. Or, as we're approaching the decision, you say, folks, I really think we should table this. You can make a motion, but I think you should say, I think we should table it. When it's all done, we got to give ourselves a break. And if you think something should be tabled, I wouldn't make the motion to table. I'd consider asking us. But if you think you don't have enough information and the rest of us are ready to do it, then you may be in the minority on the vote. There's one other thing I'd offer. We are asking, the staff owes us as board members a packet, a complete packet of things that we need to debate and discuss and decide on. I know we're busy. I know we have lives and jobs. We've got to be careful and mindful that we can't just ask them on Tuesday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Jam the team. So we have to cut each other a little bit of slack.
And everybody's going to miss stuff. Every one of us and every staff
That's why we
member,
have 5 board members.
Yeah, 5 board members.
We're supposed to carry each other.
And staff are going to miss stuff.
Right.
And if we make decisions on information that we could determine, oh, is it 5 or is it 6, and it takes 2 seconds on your computer to look it up, then we get the right answer instead of just an answer. And I like the right answer.
Well, we all do. I think that's fair. We all want the right answer, right? With best information we have. So on the code of ethics thing, just so that we can move this off to the side, this applies to the board, its committees, and its commission members. Do we have any other conversation around this particular document as written and its applicability to the board, to the committees, and to commission members? And so that would be police commission, heritage commission. Committees would be, appointed committees. Do we have any issues, or can I get a motion to move this forward?
The only thing I would bring up would be what council brought up to us about having a direction for a committee and not having it just be a standing committee, to be a directive by the select board, what they were going to do, then they would come back to the select board, or if the committee was doing something, they would brief the select board about their intent to go do something, and then they would come back to us, or we would say, geez, I don't know if we have time for that, I don't know if we have the resources for that, or what do you all think about that?
We're going to pick that one up. I think that conversation comes on the next page.
Okay.
Which is the municipal committee chair guide. But on the ethics side, ethical behavior, Linda?
Yeah, I have no problem doing that, but I would like to, the packets aren't the same, and there is one, I think we also should go over this one.
Which
It is the New Hampshire Municipal Association, how not to circumvent the right to know. Which was in one of the packets I got. It's not in this packet.
It's not in this one.
I don't have any problem not doing it tonight, but we should go over that one.
So I think that's appropriate, and it was in the earlier packet, by the way, along with these other documents. So there's, for the benefit of the public and us, there's a flow chart that, it's not in your packet, John. Don't go looking for it.
I have the old.
Okay, it might be in the old one. There's a flow chart that basically is, it's pretty self-explanatory, that tells you if you've done something that would trigger a public meeting. And does anybody have any objection if we just simply attach this to the Code of Ethics?
Should we table it? I don't have it in my packet.
Yeah, I mean, would you please?
I mean, I have no problem us
You can table it if you want.
doing it another.
No, I'm fine. I'd like to make a decision. Can I check it?
Yeah, sure, go ahead and check it. John, you can check
I'm
it too.
fine with it. I've seen it before and I'm fine with it.
So have you seen
Well-
this one before, John?
It was in one of our prior
It was in one of your
packets.
prior packets.
Seen it. Okay.
Yep.
So it's a flow chart.
Put it together.
It asks you really simple questions, and depending on how you answer the questions, it's like, yeah, you've quorumed the meeting, and you shouldn't do that. Let's give John a second to take a look at it. If you don't want to address it now, we'll address it later, John.
We can put
It's
it
up to
on
you.
another agenda.
That's right.
Yep.
I can just put it in my packet, make a copy and put it in my next packet.
Are you okay with us
Yeah.
appending that to the
Yeah.
Code of Ethics?
Yeah.
Can I get a motion to approve the Code of Ethics draft dated 4/22/26 with the NHMA system flow chart?
Is it a
Is
meeting?
that a meeting flow chart? Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Barry, would you mind just collecting that document from Linda at the end of the meeting and make sure that's in our packets and attached to the Code of Ethics? Yes. Okay? Thank you.
I think that, if I can interrupt here, we got pieces of it, but we had put together a packet for the committees.
Yes.
And we should get that list of all those documents that are going out to the committee, and this is one of them.
How about we do this? How about at the next meeting, just as an FYI,
Okay.
not for debate, but as an FYI, we provide to all of us, what are the committees going to get? You know, what's the deliverable that's coming from this board to the committees? And by the way, it'll also reflect the decisions we make tonight on the municipal chair guide, right? Mm-hmm. So with that, let's go to the municipal chair guide. Commentary. You've all read it, right?
When do you
Yeah,
left?
I've acquired.
Who's up? Linda?
Yeah, we need to go through this and change Board of Selectmen
Yeah,
to Select Board.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Mhm. Right.
And
Yeah, the red light changes are correct. The red lines.
Here's one that, again, I'm not poking at anybody, but I think we need to remind our committees that if you call a meeting, you hold a meeting, you are responsible for publishing minutes within the stated time. And Linda's been, reminding us that you got a lot of volunteers. However, you got to publish minutes within 5 business days of the meeting. Now, it says should be provided. Is it must be provided, or is it should be provided?
my understanding is you're okay if you have notes, if somebody asks that you could produce it. I find with, our committees, absolutely, but I luckily now have a secretary for Wolfeboro Waters, but we passed that around, and sometimes they didn't get it out in the 5 days. They're business people.
Yeah.
But they had notes. So do I think that's what we should put in here? But I think we need to be realistic that sometimes it doesn't because they're, they don't have the time.
Brian?
So, on the EDC, Lucy Van Cleve is the chair. She's really a good chair. She's well-liked in the community. She works 3 jobs, and she chairs the committee. She does a great job, and she's the secretary, too. She takes her own minutes. So we do have to be lenient with how we address things. But things do have to be recorded, and things have to be posted, the agendas and the meetings in proper fashion. And if a select board member is on that group, they should, if they can, assist, help.
John? No, you did? Did you have something?
No.
No. Linda?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the last bullet. Select board subcommittees shall send a quarterly report to the select board. And what we voted in was that if town funds support an appointed committee, a report to the select board at least quarterly. So it seems like we're talking about those committees that have funds. If they don't have funds, that your motion didn't carry them. So I'm wondering whether we need to make a clear statement of exactly what we're talking about here.
So in the committee guide, the words may not line up. In the committee guide, there's an asterisk if you, that identifies those committees that are receiving appropriations from the town. Let's go back to the committee guide, folks. We can tweak it.
Yeah, they're asterisks.
They're asterisks. It says committees, boards using funding. It should-
Conservation Commission, Economic Development Committee,
But that
Energy
but
Committee.
it should be on this. This is the document
So
that's
you want
going-
that carried over there?
No, I want that carried to here.
Yeah, you want
Yes,
this carried
get
over
to there.
Okay,
That's
fine.
all I'm saying.
No problem. No
I think it
problem.
makes it clear, because this is going out to them, this
Amy?
is not.
No problem, right? Okay, so we'll carry that over. So let's get back to the minutes, though. I mean, I think there's a bit of wiggle room here in minutes. It should be within 5 business days, but should not be within a month.
No.
I mean, it gets to the point it's absurd, right? We should have minutes within 5 business days, but let's not wait a month.
Well, I might say 5 business days or before or at the next meeting, no later than the next meeting. If it is a month, it is a month.
Not sure I agree with that.
And this is completely unrelated, but in our neighborhood association, we have a due date for our payment, and I give the people till the next, so it's a due date for the payment, and then they have a grace period till the next payment, because life happens to people.
Linda?
I think we should leave it as written, but realize that some committees may have a hard time doing it, and if they do, they do. If Lucy's doing it and she has something else she has to do in her business world, she's going to do that first. The town, there are in those budgets money to pay for a secretary. Those secretaries we're not able to hire them. The EDC used to have a secretary. So without an employee doing that, I think we still want to stay within the RSA, but the reality is some of them may not because we don't have a paid employee.
There could be chairs that have a parent that's ill and passing away.
Circumstances.
Yes,
Yeah.
they could have, they have a health crisis themselves.
So there's a notion here that says, let's not do anything but stick within the RSA that we have.
Yep.
Anybody object to that?
No.
You good with that?
Do we have an issue?
Do we have an issue? You okay with that? You good with that? And there's one administrative thing under here, and this is from our dearly beloved Sam. Receipts and reimbursements work needs to be looked at. We have had a couple of situations of committees. We just need to remind the committee folks that if they're expending money, it should be done. I think, does it have to be done with prior approval?
what it usually is a vote of the committee.
It's a vote of the committee.
And it's not to be used for, the consumption of spirits or any of that stuff, but receipts need to be clear and unambiguous. The auditors, I think, poked at us, according to Sam last year. So we're all good with that? Okay, cool. All right. So the only thing administratively that we're going to do, or the only thing we're going to do is I'm going to copy over the select board subcommittees, and we're going to go ahead with all this other stuff. Is there any other issue on the municipal committee chair guide?
Nope.
Hearing none, can I get a motion, please?
Move to approve the, what's that title?
Is
The
municipal committee chair guide.
Chair guide.
Draft of 4/22/26.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion, a second. Any subsequent discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You good? Thank you. Next one's the fun one, rules of procedure, Wolfeboro Select Board. All right. So this is a multi-page document. Let's try to go page by page if we can. Page one.
I only have one page with one change during the whole thing.
Bless your heart. We're on page 1. And this is where I will tee this one up. I believe that we are interrupting ourselves too much in these meetings. I believe that we're having side research. And I don't find, and we just talked about this earlier, I don't find that to be helpful for this board, for the point that maybe you made, Brian, and I think, John, you've even made, and that is, there may be stuff that you are aware of or become aware of that doesn't get shared, with the board. And folks out there, this is not keeping secrets, okay? Let's just not go there. It's just that there's more contemporaneous information that comes in, and some of us may feel, gosh, I wish I had known that earlier. So we've got to stop the interruptions, and we've got to stop the side research. I've also had people, very frankly, say to me that people doing side research appears to be not listening to me, or to the me, and why. So we just got to deal with that. Any comments on that? Anybody disagree? Linda.
I think I just had it in a different place. I'll give you that when we get to it, where I need to make a statement about cell phones, and if they feel we also need to make a statement about computers, we should.
And folders.
And folders, my folders. I think, to me, it's the cell phone is the one that I think is the most disruptive.
The next is the roles of us, and it starts with the chairperson. And I know, and I say this with the highest amount of respect, I pull the duty of making sure that the meetings are run properly to the extent that I can, that I work with town staff to get the agenda put together. If there are issues that come in from the public that it needs a fresh set of eyes on it, I will look at it, but I will normally default to getting it out to everybody. That's my MO. It goes to everybody. Unless, however, there is an issue which would prohibit me from doing that. I haven't had an opportunity to do anything other than what I just described. I say this out of, again, I am not the chairman. I'm the chairman in name when I'm outside this building, but I am only the chairman when I'm here in this room. That's all I do is preside over this group of very smart people. So that's the role of the chair. Brian, Glenda?
I need to go back to page 1, and I would like us to define what we mean by crossover board. I have so many copies of these things that I'm trying to, it was supposed to be in 5, There it is.
There it
right
is.
above. And
So it's like
I've
when
had a
on-
question about that, and I tried to define it, and I think it would be good if the board decided what that meant.
Well, why don't you start?
I
First
went back
page,
and I went right to
yellow.
the yellow.
Page 5.
No,
No, no.
one, right up above,
Page 1.
one, back to one, above the white, I mean the yellow, is crossover.
Crossover boards. It's called crossover board. Yep.
And somebody asked me that question, and I gave him some kind of an answer, and I felt that I would like clarity from other board members on what we're talking about.
So you,
I thought we were talking about boards such as the planning board, the CIP, and the budget committee that require members of the board to be on. That was my kind of interpretation, as best I could do.
I can't
Or we scratch it out.
let the record show that there's a member of the public laughing at us, and we're offended by that. Okay. I frankly can't deal, I don't even know what it means.
Well, that's what, do we just cross it out?
Let's just cross it out.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, out it goes.
So it will read, members are expected to attend assigned committee meetings.
Correct.
All right, and we're going to delete and crossover board.
Sorry,
That's all right.
I'm working from two different copies.
The second sentence is appropriate. When unable to attend, members should notify the chair in time for alternate coverage, although we don't have alternates here, so I would recommend we take that out.
Well, except if you're on the planning board, that's why I said it was the planning board. You do. So
I thought it was directed to us. I'm sorry. So that's,
this is committee, so I think that's what we were trying to say. But I think if we know in enough time and there's an alternate, we should try to get the alternate.
Yep.
And it can just stay as is.
the headline here is we have a responsibility to tell every committee that we're sitting on that we're going to attend or not.
So,
What page are you on?
page 1,
All right, good.
the title, the purpose. These rules of procedures describe the duties and methods of operation of the Wolfeboro Select Board.
Correct.
So how's the planning board coming?
So I,
Because if, okay, go ahead.
no, you
do
go
it.
ahead. No, you go ahead.
Paul's the person who represents us on the planning board.
Yep.
It's one that we have to be, we are supposed to have somebody at. He has an alternate.
Yep.
If he can't make it, his responsibility is to let John know.
Correct.
So we as a board have a representative at that meeting.
Okay.
That
So,
was my
Yeah,
understanding.
and I think it's direct, this is, to your point, Brian, this is directed at us. I was having a syntax, not a syntax, but an ownership issue. We are responsible for making sure that if we don't show up or can't show up at a meeting, we do everything in our power to alert the board that we're sitting on and ensure that the alternate is available. It's a matter of respect. And that's about as far as that goes.
Okay.
Page 1 is done. Anybody, John, you got anything on page 1?
I'm sorry to take it back, but all of a
That's all right,
sudden
no,
I
that's right.
realized I had forgotten where that was.
One and done. Okay, page 2. Vice Chairman.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions on that? Okay. Item, we're going to get the A, B's, and C's right. This looks a little light. I made a note to myself. I don't know what a C is. Maybe it's a continuation of the A and B. It is. The committees. Amy has redlined, highlighted the committees that are standing and that are other committees and external boards. Those are my words, so if you think those are the wrong words, we can change them. But the standing committees are up above. We, at the last meeting, did cancel some, right? We had some that we removed. And then and for this meeting, we've moved some from standing committees to other committees and external boards. They may still be standing committees, but they're other committees and external boards. Okay, questions?
The only one, the two that I question, and the only reason, whether we call them subcommittees of standing boards, but Milfoil Committee and Wolfeboro Waters are to report back to us. These other ones are other committees that don't have that same responsibility. And all of a sudden I was thinking, it's back to what does the committee need to report to the board? And these two report back to the board because they're subcommittees of the Board of Selectmen.
So when you say report, they status us with information, or
Correct.
they come to us
And
with
they
requests for,
And they use town funds.
yeah,
They
but
both
they
use
come to
town
us for a
funds.
request for, I want to do something, are you guys okay with this?
Right, if Wolfeboro Waters is going to write a letter to DES, it will come here to see it before it goes out.
Correct.
all
And they
right?
both use town funds.
Yeah, that's given. Right, they're both spending money, that's given. What about their work plans? I'm not picking on any one. What about the work plans of some of these committees?
Well, Wolfeboro Waters has a mission,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Do they come to the board yet for,
they did when the mission was established,
huh?
because that was it started as a cyanobacteria committee, it became a Wolfeboro Waters, and that mission came to the board. Because I think those committees, same thing with the EDC, is that they come to the Board of Selectmen with stuff before it goes out.
So let's make a decision. Where do we want them? Top or bottom?
Or is there another category? I don't know, but I just,
You don't need a third category.
I
Top or
just
bottom?
don't, I question whether they fall in those those others are external.
So would you prefer them up in the top again?
I would, because I think that's where they are in terms of relationship. The other ones are all boards that are not under the control of the
So you're
board.
saying Waters and Milfoil goes up as standing committees?
I'll make a motion to move the Milfoil and the Wolfboro Waters Committee back up to the standing committees.
Because they, A, use money, and two, they, okay.
Call the question.
Anybody want to dispute that? Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's fine. Operation, organizational meetings. Anybody have any comments, questions, difficulties on the organizational meetings, regular meetings, work session meetings, non-public meetings, special meetings? This is what we do. This is how we do it.
One of the things that we have done, and I'll relate to B, we have gone back to 2023 and have reviewed all sealed non-public minutes, and this board is each year, at the end of the year, going back and looking about whether it's sealed, they're sealed or not.
Okay,
And we need to make the formal motion to unseal any minutes should be taken at the next regular public board meeting, and we need to get to that.
Okay, well, that's fine.
okay.
As long as it's in our procedures.
Well, there's two things about this. One is the actual documentation of the non-public minutes, which student body right does pretty, student body left, or that person over there does pretty well. So we have those, and we have those actually in our hands pretty darn quickly after the event. The question then becomes, at what point do we unseal? And there's a calendar when we're supposed to review those and unseal them. In fact, we did that a few months back, if you remember.
Yes, yes.
We did that a few months back. Okay.
But does it say in here that we have to do it yearly?
One or two more meetings throughout the year to determine whether those minutes shall continue to be sealed. Paragraph B, under the,
I think under the changes to the right to know, I think it has to be done once a year.
once a year?
Yeah, I wonder, I didn't look it up, but I wonder if there's an RSA we can.
I'll tell you what, let's not modify that, because it does say, even within this, we're within inside the envelope of the RSA, because it's once or twice a year. If the RSA says you got to do it once a year, we're actually inside that framework to begin with, right?
Okay, yep.
Okay. Special meetings. This is the one I always get confused by. I get some help on what is a special meeting? I've been in a number of them. I didn't know how. What is the purpose of those things?
I think what they're, I think we have regular meetings and we have special meetings, and this meeting is a special meeting because it's not on one of our regular dates. It's
So it is-
how I read
we're
it.
special tonight?
We are special tonight. The first and third are irregular, and any meeting we hold that is not on the first and third would be a special meeting. Is my understanding.
Which is now a continuation of what we did not get accomplished last week, which is what we agreed to do. By the way, do we have to add that into our rules of procedure?
Yes, I
The
had,
vote we took last week,
yes, and
you proffered, Linda?
yeah, and I didn't bring my notes, but it does go in here. Where did I put it?
I'd like to put it up front. I overlooked that. I'd like to put that up front, that if we can't get our regularly scheduled business done within the 6 to 9
Oh, I know where I put it.
timeframe, we're going to
Well,
just move everything forward.
I think we do it, we have the agenda, and then and it tells us when we need to have things in. I would, after adjournment, and then I would put a sentence there and talk about our meetings will go from 6
To 9.
to 9, and any items not covered shall be continued to the following meeting. And so then, when we had an agenda and it said it was the April 22nd meeting, or should it really say April 22nd?
Special.
Special meeting, continuation of the
Special.
agenda from,
Yep, I agree.
so I think that's,
And then rules of order, quorum, agenda. John, you had motioned last week, so we're going to put, we had put this in the rules of procedure. It'll now be immortalized in this as the board carried the motion for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, good. All right. It's fine. And I don't know if the right word is entertain the Pledge of Allegiance. It would be just the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
So I'm going to strike that. Okay. In terms of the flow of the business, there's 2 public input sessions. I remember when I rejoined the board, there was, we didn't want to have 2, then we went back to 2, and what's the board's pleasure on this?
I'm okay with 2.
I am, and one of the reasons we went back to 2 is that we heard from the public. We make all these decisions, they don't hear it if the public input is just in the beginning. And so they want to make a comment at the end. There are other people who want to come in and make a comment, and they don't want to wait through the rest of our meeting. So I felt the 2 sessions accommodated people, and that's why I'm willing to support 2.
Anybody else? Are you Google searching over there?
Well, I just...
He's Google searching it.
If you want to know, the
No.
HB 321 says that you have to do your minutes every 10 years. You have to look at and seal non-public meetings every 10 years.
I think we're
But when
past
they
that.
re-changed the ordinance, that was in the new ordinance that we had to go back into history and 10 years to make sure we had gone through and unsealed because there was no requirement.
Now, at the point of sounding like a
From 23
grumpy,
on, it's 10 years.
at the point of sounding like a grumpy person, number 1 is you did some Google research, felony. Number 2, if that's new information, you could bring it up at another meeting and says, I've done some research and you don't only have to do it for 10 years. Let me tell you something, my personal opinion is we do the minutes every year, or at least twice a year. We're well inside the envelope.
Perfect.
And to let something last for 10 years is kind of
Too long.
correct. Okay.
Hey.
Gilda?
Even if you go over a year, you may not have the same board.
Yeah,
And that's why I think we should do it
Right,
every
every
year.
I agree with
Yeah.
that.
It's just
Okay.
good to know we're within a state RSA.
Okay, the next page is page 5.
Yep.
The chair and the town manager, well, you go ahead and go through it. Amy had a comment here. A request has been made to stick to this rule going forward, which is only bona fide emergencies may be placed on the agenda for discussion. I think the issue here is what we just touched upon earlier, which is we can't have a lot of stuff running at the board at the last minute. We generally look unprepared, and we generally do less than satisfactory decision making. For those two reasons, I think it's probably not a good idea. Now, if the world is coming unglued and there's an emergency we have to deal with, then we'll deal with it.
So I wanted to add, only bona fide emergencies may be placed on the agenda for discussion at the meeting after the agenda setting deadline has passed and with a vote of the select board.
Now, how do we do that, Brian? How do we do that? So let's play it out. So it's Friday afternoon.
Something gets thrown on the agenda, it comes to us and our agenda has been changed. The select board should say, do we want to take this new thing and discuss it, vote on it, do whatever we want with it at this meeting, or are we going to push that piece off to the next meeting?
Procedurally, I don't know how do you do that procedurally?
We can table it. We just table that?
No,
No, because it's before we get it.
it's before we get it.
It's before we get it.
I was trying to walk you through the logic here. So it's Friday afternoon.
Yep.
In comes a need to discuss, the what's-a-whoosy.
Yep.
Is there a polling of the board that takes place?
No. It goes on the agenda, but if we want, we don't have to accept it, even though Amy put it on the agenda.
We can
because
table it at the
That's
meeting.
what I
Table it
said.
at the
yeah.
meeting.
You didn't have the word "at the meeting." I was having the same problem here. I hear what
Yeah,
you're saying
we can
now.
table
If
it.
it gets put on,
So we look at it, and so it would be, that change to the agenda would be if approved or if voted by or the select board, because we should have the option to opt out of that if we think we don't want to discuss it. Yeah, somebody thought it was an emergency. We don't think it's an emergency, and we need more information on it. We're going to table that.
I think at the meeting, we have a right to table anything we want.
Anything.
My other thing here is, and I'm not sure quite where it is, if a member of the board asks to have an item on the agenda, it should go on the agenda.
Absolutely.
And that should be in here. So there's no misunderstanding. It doesn't get pushed off a meeting or two. They have to meet all the time frame.
Where would it be, in your mind, Linda, where would it be on the agenda?
Where would it be on the agenda? Well, it'd probably be the last item.
Other business?
No, I want to get it out of, it would be listed on the agenda. If we had 7F, then it would be the next letter.
But no select board members should be able to add something onto the agenda after Friday
They have to get it there by Wednesday.
or by Wednesday.
Wednesday, you have to meet the same time frame.
Correct.
If you do it, we would prefer you have documentation to it, but sometimes you might not. But I would prefer documentation if documentation
Again, we
is
can table it.
present. What I'm trying to get out of is information coming to us as other business, because then the public doesn't have a chance to know that it's coming, nor does the board. And I think if we get it, have a way to get it on the thing, we'll know, and the public will know what we're going to talk about.
I completely agree with that. I think that the public needs to know what we want to talk about. I don't believe that we like other people, unless it's a bona fide emergency, we don't get to, jam something at the board at the last minute. We always have the ability to table things, always, right? Always. We just got to be careful that we don't snowplow, where we create a situation where we're just, snow plowing problems or issues forward. Any disagreement on what Linda just said?
Can we put it on page 5, and it's at the end of the agenda, and we're talking about when material has to be in, and say select board members must have any item that they want on the agenda following the same time frame. That's what we're really talking about.
Do you want to just write something for
I'll
Amy?
write something for
You guys
Amy,
okay with that? Something for Amy? Okay, thank you.
and I'll put it right in there.
Thank you. All right. Role of the chairperson. Open the session at the time. Announce the business before the board. Recognize members. After a presentation, questions accepted from the public shall be addressed to the chair after they identify themselves. State and put to vote all questions. Assist in expediting business. in every way compatible with the rights of the members. This is I think we're starting, and I appreciate that. We're starting to have a discussion, and then we'll want to call the question. My personal preference on some of that is that's an important thing for a member to do, but I want every member to feel that they've had an opportunity to state their position and issues. And I also, and this is a personal item, I hope that what we start to do is defend or promote our position, not somebody else's shortcoming on their position. It's not a personal thing. It's like, your position's a bad idea because you want to do X, Y, Z, and that's a bad model. No, it's my idea is what I want to promote. So I just ask that we all try to do that. Okay, next page. Or are we done with this page? Next page. I made a note to myself on the chairperson shall vote as a member of the board. Discussions which are not addressing business before the board or which are conducted in a disorderly or disrespectful manner shall be ruled out of order. I hope I never have to do that. That's all I would say. Chairperson will take whatever action is necessary to maintain order. I hope I never have to do that. Correspondence directed to us is going to get, this is item 9, correspondence directed to me is going to get shared with you unless it's a matter that has to go to the lawyer first or somebody else. So you can depend upon that. Anything on conduct of meetings, Linda?
Yeah, this is where I would like to add the cell phone.
This one, in meeting conduct?
Right underneath that.
Yep.
And we can either make it part of that paragraph or another paragraph. It should say cell phone. Cell phone use is discouraged. Select board members may not use their cell phones to communicate to individuals members of the public, or convey questions from the public to the select board unless authorized by the board. So in other words, you get an email or somebody asks a question and you see it, you cannot ask that question unless you get approval from the board. So that we don't have things going back and forth because everybody doesn't hear it.
Give me an example. Make something up.
Okay.
Make something up.
I want you to ask the question about whether they're going to paint the crosswalks blue. The person would have had a chance to do it in, public or, and then, why don't you ask this? And so, or typing out and saying, oh, this is what the person meant. Because the person isn't here. The information should be at the meeting where everybody can hear it. And when we use our cell phone that way, I think it takes away from being transparent and everybody understanding what's happening.
We know that.
Dave and Brian are over there talking about stuff. What are you talking about?
This right here has more computing power than the computers in NASA that sent our astronauts to the moon.
Brilliant.
If I have information that I don't know because I missed something when I spent 2 days or 3 days going through my packet, I'm not going to sit. I can't. My brain will not allow me to sit and say, I could probably check that, but I'm not going to bother.
But what I just, excuse me?
Go ahead, Linda.
What I just read had nothing about research. It has to do with getting information through your cell phone from somebody in the audience or at home wanting you to ask a question or get some information. And that is not transparent. Everybody doesn't know that. Or us typing and say, can you tell me what this is? That is what I want stopped.
We had an instance a week ago, and the way I would characterize it, I may not be accurate, but we should have one meeting, and that should be between and amongst ourselves. We should not be having a meeting with anyone else during board time.
Who's the public?
We're in session. We're having a meeting. We should not be having a meeting with anyone else other than ourselves And I think that's what you're
Yeah,
inferring.
I said a member of the public,
Yep.
not us, a member of the public. And I think that's when that happens, we're not being transparent. Everybody doesn't hear when you give an answer what the question was that you asked to get the answer. And I just think it needs to be us. The other one is on the research. You've pushed back hard on it. And the question is whether we want to do another one. I think the first two we do.
What's the first two, Linda?
First one is that use of cell phones is discouraged. The second one is select board members may not use their cell phone to communicate to members of the public or convey a question from a member of the public to the select board at a meeting unless authorized by the select board, which then again, there is a piece if you said, look, I got this question, let me tell it, are you willing to let me say it? And if it was something we might say yes. It doesn't say no, you can't, but it's to stop that from happening. And and we could take out unless authorized by the board, but I wanted to have some wiggle room on that.
Well, I'm a firm believer that we are in session for ourselves, and if somebody wants to give us coaching, they can do that, but the back and forth, I am completely in agreement that we shouldn't be doing that, because we're having a meeting with somebody else.
Right.
We could be having a meeting with that fine gentleman out there, and I want to have a meeting with you right now. Or we're getting input from somebody that says, ask this question. That to me is, I don't want to do that. Not to put anybody on the spot, but the two guys at the end of the tables, Mr. Senecal and Mr. Thurston, do you have anything you want to chime in on that? No. You good? Dave?
Fine.
You're good?
And the question is whether you want to leave in there or unless authorized by the board. We can either make it blanket no.
No. I personally say no.
Want to take that out?
Yep,
Okay.
I personally, and would you get that to Amy if you wouldn't mind?
I will. I have it better written at home and I will get it to her.
Because it's a slippery slope. I mean, Karen wants to ask a question. She just fired a question at me. It's really important. And can we just, no.
So we have to make sure that laptops and cell phones are included together because you can receive texts, emails, and everything.
I completely agree. I completely agree. My laptop will be for reference only.
Okay.
Unless you want, if you guys want me to shut this thing, I can look even more dumber than I
You have to
normally
say cell phones and laptops.
Okay, so you want this to say cell phone or laptop?
All electronic devices.
Anything that can be used for
Okay.
communications,
All
Electronic.
electronic devices.
including here.
Hearing aids, watches, prosthetic legs.
Would you stop? Just stop. Just stop.
Okay, I'll
You're
use
going-
all electronic devices. All right?
I think this, we had a couple of suggestions from John, requests for information, should it become apparent to the chairperson or an individual board member in the interim between meetings that additional information relative to all business or information relative to a specific item that may be needed to use shall be submitted to the town manager. You want to illuminate on that, John?
I'm not prepared to talk right now.
Okay, very good. And I think what it's saying is we want to be open to everybody, right? No secrets, no nothing. Any information to any select person, board member, or by the town manager to any select board member shall be provided to the rest of the board. I think that's exactly right. So no, any objection to that? Any
Well,
discussion on that?
Are we saying that is something for the town manager? It's the town manager's job? Well, it doesn't belong here. It belongs, and I know it was in the last one.
Yep.
That belongs in our communication to the town manager. If I'm correct, we're talking about what our responsibilities. So that's my problem with it.
Okay, so it's a legacy issue. It's been in here, rules of procedure, for some period of time. You're recommending we don't change it, but pick it up and move it someplace else?
Yep.
And where do you want it?
It should be part of our goals for the town manager. It should be in there listed that that's what we want from him.
Okay.
This isn't, these rules aren't for him, they're for us. You know, if we're saying that a select board, an individual select board member should provide information, new information to all select board members, that would fit here, and that may be partly what we were trying to get at. But we used to have on our evaluating the town manager exactly on whether he was giving the information.
Let's read this again. It says, any information provided to any individual select board member or by the town manager to any select board member shall be provided to the rest of the select board and shall note the subject matter, detailed description, and the note of origin of the subject request. I don't see a need for us to move that.
It seems to me by the town manager.
And I think Jim did this, pretty darned okay. He'd send stuff out. So I don't know, board members, what do you want to do?
I think it's kind of awkwardly written and it doesn't make much sense.
So
I think what it should say is if you want to do it, the way to do it, any information provided by an individual select board member to another select board member should also go to the town manager. That's what I think. I think that if I contact John about something to do with docks and wharves, that I should also CC the town manager on that information, and then the town manager either on my prodding, and please forward this to the rest of the board, or on the town manager's discretion, can give it to the rest of the board.
John, this is your...
That's the way I think.
So the whole premise here is when someone goes to the town manager's office to discuss something, and that information is just between that person and the town manager, and isn't including the rest of the board. That's what this is all about.
That's what I said. I
Hang on,
agree with you.
one minute.
No,
Keep going.
he wrote it.
Keep going. He
So,
wrote it.
so the feeling that a discussion is happening with a board member and just the town manager and not including the rest of the board is whether or not, that would require every select board member to go into the town manager's office and say, give me a briefing.
Hold on.
So I'm trying to get something that says, I had a conversation with so-and-so about this, and I want to let everybody know.
The town manager would say that.
Yes, because when I first came on, you said, go through the town manager and don't go anywhere else.
Don't go sideways. Yep,
Go
go
through
up.
the town manager.
Yep.
So I've always tried to focus on that, but it doesn't seem to work.
And why doesn't it work? Not to get into personals, but why doesn't it work?
It doesn't work because if somebody else goes into, even myself, what I don't want to happen is I want everybody to know what my discussion is, and I want to know what their discussion is.
Okay, Linda?
Well, the way I have looked at it is that when I go in and talk to the town manager and it's an issue, I look at the weekly notes. And I look to see that discussion has come out on the weekly notes, and then I know the rest of the board has got the information. Not every word, but they know the topic that I talked about and where the town manager was on it. And I check that.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, the
I
weekly
would go in and
notes.
I talk to the town manager about the crosswalks down there and how I feel about them, all right? And I look in there and saying, I've had conversations about the crosswalks and we're concerned about such and such. Does that show up in his weekly notes? Has it, and if it does, then it's going out to everybody. If I go in and say I'm concerned about the capacity of the sewer treatment plant, and I'd like to see the engineer come in, he might say we're looking at having the consultant for the effluent disposal come in on his report. I want to see some kind of wording in his weekly notes on something that I was concerned about, and the rest of the board knows that issue is out there.
So I don't mean to go sideways, but when Barry's notes came out this week, there was a whole litany of stuff, and I felt very informed. to be honest with you, I had sent a message back to Jim and said, everything's abbreviated. I don't understand what you're trying to convey to me. And so that's...
Okay, I'm having trouble with that now. You said you got Barry's, because I just pulled him up here.
Yep.
Reference.
Yep.
Oh, reference. I just pulled these up, and it's week of 413, 417, and Barry sends us out a, bullet point notes. And those were not clear enough for you?
Those were very clear.
They were clear. Oh, okay.
In the past, they were very abbreviated, and I sent a message back to Jim, said, everything's abbreviated, I don't know what you're trying to say. And so I was pleasantly pleased, Barry, nice job with your notes.
Give me a couple weeks.
They
They may become a
Give me a
bit
couple of weeks and
abbreviated,
I'll
but
bag 'em up for
that
you.
would be my normal methodology.
But the whole idea here is to have all the information out there, so we're all chewing
same
on the
page.
same stuff.
So this worked for you?
It did work for me.
Okay. So now let's go back to the language in this piece of paper that you proffered. It says any information, and I worry about the any, but that's okay. Any information, which is not your words, John. Any information provided to any individual select board member or by the town manager to any select board member shall be provided to the rest of the board. I have no objection with any of that.
But I think if that's the way John explained it is the way it is a town manager's job to do it. It's not a select board procedure. We're not doing anything.
That's fair. That's a fair.
That's what
a
I-
fair comment.
Yeah, we're not doing
That's a fair comment.
we're not doing the conversing from the town manager to the board. That's the town manager doing it to us. I agree with you, John, that we should get complete information from the town manager, but that's his job, so we should keep it in his goals and responsibilities.
So let's just do two things.
So it's a great idea, we just got to make sure that...
Well, let's just do two things. Let's make sure we don't lose traction on this. The bid here is that we should ensure that whatever goes in that corner office comes out, and it comes out to us. I don't think there's any disagreement on that. Anybody? Mr. Sunical? No. He's cool. You're good with it? The question then is, where does it belong? Does it belong in the goals of the town manager or on this piece of paper?
You could put it underneath the responsibilities of the chair. The chair is responsible to make sure that the town manager supplies information of weekly notes to the select
What do you
board.
want me to do? Go and hit him with a stick?
Yep,
I'm not going to do that.
however you do it. I mean, you could put it there.
Linda?
I think we're all agreeing that we want information to go out equally to all of us.
Yes.
And the person who's going to be able to do that is the town manager. So that's why I made my first statement is this, and I'm with Paul, we cannot lose that.
Yep.
That needs to be there. And as I recall, as part of our evaluation, that's one of the things that we evaluate them on. So, but I think that, I would write that's a goal that we need to do for the town manager. And at one point, we had those kind of goals for him.
Well, and I hope, and I think we should expect of each other, if we don't see this happening,
Yep.
it should be a matter of us, whatever the right words are, just letting each other know, hey, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
In a very, not in a very, punitive manner, but I didn't get that information. This is not what we got signed up for. I don't want to go there, but I want to make sure we don't lose this, because absent, if this kind of stuff doesn't take place, then we are being corrosive, and I don't want to do that.
Well,
Yes, sir.
so I will say that if something that Barry and I discussed that I think the board should know doesn't show up in Friday notes, I would say that it's not a horrible thing for me to go and say to Barry, hey, Barry, remember we talked about this? Could you please send a little blurb to the rest of the select board so that they know that
You okay with that?
And
I think
I've done that, I've done
I
that
think
a
we're
lot,
okay.
I've done that a lot with Jim. I've always sent out emails and said, Jim, can you forward this to the select board?
John put his finger up.
I was thinking more like when somebody goes into the office of the town manager and starts to discuss something, it's like a one form thing that he fills it out and says, I had this discussion, and when the agenda comes out, all the items are on that agenda. I'm just trying to, I mean, this was in there. All I did was just add a couple of words to it.
But we're going over it, and that's why it has been in there. You're absolutely right, but then I'm saying, well, this is the rules of the Board of Selectmen, and that was relating to the town manager. That's,
Mr. Deshaies.
I would also defer to Barry. Barry, is it better for you to keep notes during the week and inform us of everything on a Friday? Is that more efficient for you than stopping every day and having to write forms and emails? Or is it easier for you to do it at the end of the week? We want to make the town manager's job as efficient and easy as possible.
Well, how I would, and how I do it, always have, is sort of just, I have a little notebook that I just jot things down during the day. I'm not spending a lot of time. They're pretty much what you read in a format I can understand. So for me, Friday, just compiling those notes in a report is pretty simple.
You okay with that?
But everybody
Yeah.
might be different. I don't
So
know.
I think at some point, we've got to just be personally responsible. If we coach the town manager or provide the town manager with something that we think is meritorious for the rest of the board and doesn't show up in the Friday report, I like Brian's idea. You flick his bick a little bit and say, you missed that one. That's great.
Gently and kindly, I said.
Did you say gently and kindly?
Gently and kindly.
Can we get you to say
mention
that
each other.
again? Gently and kindly? All right, great.
You
Did he
said
say
that,
that, Dave? Did he really say that? He didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
Okay,
Remember, we're positive here.
we are. All right, next page, page 7. Linda.
yes, B,
B,
yes, and I'm.
Rule 7B.
Yeah, if you go down there, it says Planning Board, Conservation Commission, Historic District Commission is no more.
No more.
So that needs to be removed.
So we need to remove Historic District Commission. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, this is going to go through another iteration, and it's going to come back to us. We're going to get one more bite on the apple, and then we're going to be asking everybody to sign it. Last year, we signed it on 19 July. Hopefully, we'll beat that, the 20th of July. Hopefully, we'll beat that schedule. Amy just said incorrect reference to job titles in the town manager and assistant, so she's tightening that up administratively. Okay? Okay, so I don't think we need a motion, but you're going to get some of your changes too?
Yeah, I'll get them to Amy.
And then we're going to iterate on it, we'll chew on it. Okay, this is the fun part of the meeting. Just personal comment. One of the things we have to get our heads around is working in alignment, or as Dave Bowers said, in harness with the town management and its staff. And if we don't set priorities, then everything is a priority. That's the way I look at it. Everything is important. And we asked each other to provide input on what we would call the proposed select board work plan. 21 items came across the table. I think the first challenge tonight is to start grouping them. And I have my groupings that I did, and I will not try to influence you, at least in the first 30 seconds.
Well, can I interject?
You may.
If we're going to do this, this is not the time to do this.
It's not.
No, I believe that what we need to do then, because I grouped them too. Your group is going to look different than my group, is going to look different than Linda's group, different than John's, different than Dave's. So I think that what we need to do is take these, rearrange them on what we think are the necessary groups, and then put them back to Amy, somebody, whoever wants to, and try and collate something from this. Because we'll spend 2 hours here all discussing which groups are the best groups and whose groups are in what, where, when, how, and why.
So you're just basically tossing this one into the future.
So when Rob was here, he would do Survey Monkey,
Yes, correct. Something like that.
and everybody would line them up, and then whatever Survey Monkey would spit out, that's how it would,
Yeah,
you would get the general consensus.
yeah. Look at, our audience does not want to sit and listen to us talk for 2 hours about which goal we're going to do first.
Ms. Murray.
Yeah, as I look through this, and, I wrote mine and saying, thinking about what is the job of the town manager and what is our job. And some of these are, our job, some of them are the town manager's job. And so it comes to be, what is our relationship with the town manager working through some of this? So, and I kept on thinking about that when I was looking at the water and sewer capacity study. The staff's going to do it. There needs to be a long-range plan. We're going to need a cost estimate, and then we got to come up with a funding. So first we have to understand it, then we have to do a long-range plan, then we need a cost estimate, and then we need funding. So is it not the town manager and the Board of Selectmen working together to come to a long-range plan? And I started to think of what that relationship is, because a lot of these we can't do without him.
Her or it.
Or it, whatever.
I mean, I have some listed that would be just DPW's job to bring us information. I have others that would be only Barry's job to do, 4 of them. I have 3 that are just our responsibility, but will be a multi-year process. And I have 7 or something that are, let's do them now, we can do them in the next 3 to 4 months. But mine are not going to align with Linda's, and are not going to align with John's and Paul's and Dave's. They're not. And I agree with John that we need to either put together a spreadsheet or do something else so that we create categories and put what we think we need to go into each bucket, and then when they're all separated, then we can look at where we are with these. Because we will spend 2 hours all going through each one and saying, where does it go? And we won't end up anywhere. We'll end up over on the docks and wharfs.
Again.
Yes.
Survey Monkey. Well, it assumes that you know what the questions are you want to ask.
Well, I think
Well, what would be the damn
these are
question?
the items, you just put these into the Survey Monkey, and then you say, how do you rate each one?
See, that's what Ford used to do with context-sensitive solutions, right? He had kind of his own manual version of Survey
Maybe
Monkey.
that's why they were in the same
Yeah.
building together.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that each of us group them.
Yeah,
So
and probably in different ways.
Yeah, and I think that by us looking at our different groups and being able to explain why we do it may help us work our way through this. Or we can get pieces of paper up and we can put, stickies on it so the public can see how we're voting. I like grouping them, and I think if we knew if we had different groups, then we could look at that.
Well, we're not going to spend 2 hours because Brian will throw a kind. He'll throw a kind bit. But I like the idea, by the way, of voting. I like that. I'll get to you in a second. But I want to just put a thought in here. I've been looking around at other organizations, roles of select boards, roles of town managers, and I came down on there's 2 P's to simplify it. There's 2 P's. We're policy people, and the town is the practice. We do policy, they do the practice. And I use that kind of as a gross level sorting criteria. What are the policy issues we got to get our heads around? And then what are the practice items that we got to get our heads around? And then I went underneath that and I said, and this was after a conversation with my colleague over here, there are certain things that if we don't get them done, We ain't gonna get to the policy stuff, little crabs in this bucket that just keep pulling down. So then there's the tactics. Anyways, John, that was my thinking. John?
So,
Survey monkey.
if you look back over the years, there's one thing that we haven't done, or hasn't been done.
Only
or it's been done in pieces, but I think we should say this is the year of infrastructure, and this is the year of roads.
Should we go over and give him a kiss?
So here's one I have. Let's see if the five of us can manage to create, how many categories do you have, Linda?
I've got about 5.
Oh, that's too many.
I have,
I don't think
How
so.
many you got?
I
You got
have,
five?
I have, I think, 4.
Okay.
Can we create 4 or 5 categories that we all can agree on, and then we can stick these things that we want in each of those 5 category buckets and then come back and talk about it?
Ooh. See, Brian just blew up his entire idea of not doing it, and now he wants to do it.
All I want is categories. We don't have to talk
Linda,
about the individuals.
Yeah, you said there's policies and practices, but part of what the Board of Selectmen does is set direction.
Right.
That is kind of what I saw us doing here. That's kind of when I talked
Yeah.
about the relationship between the town manager and the board. It's the direction we give to the board, to the town manager on the capacity study. They do the
So
practice.
give us
But
one of
it's
your,
not-
give us one of your categories.
I think roads.
Putting you on the spot.
No, a whole category.
What do you got?
Not an individual item, a
Give
category.
us a category.
Okay, capital projects.
So you have capital projects.
I have a category called strategic and vital. Infrastructure.
Strategic and vital.
And I have a category called strategic and important. I have a category called annual goal.
Hold on, I'm writing down as fast as I can. So now I did it completely different. I have, the way I broke it up was I have things that Barry should do, things that Steve Randall should do, short-term things that we should get done in the next 3 to 4 months that we can
This is
do
your crabs in the
quickly.
bucket thing, right?
Correct.
Yep.
And things that are going to be long-term that we should be studying this year and going forward.
Okay?
So my buckets are completely different than Linda's buckets and completely different than Paul's buckets.
But they may be different, but the principles appear to be the same.
Yeah.
But I think you could do yours, and some of my capitals will fit inside some of
Yeah.
yours. And we may be grouping in different names for the same group.
John, did you come up with any categories?
You got any buckets?
Survey monkey.
No, I just have a feeling that our is the year of infrastructure and roads. It's just, that's really, I think of all the other stuff that's on the periphery, and I say, it keeps us from fixing the heart of our town.
What about hiring a town manager?
Oh, I put that one down as,
Well,
gotta do it.
Must do.
That's a gotta do.
Yeah, that's
Or
where.
Barry's gonna be leaving us sooner rather than later.
Mine's called a now.
That's a do now. But John, you're saying
a
it's
now.
infrastructure as a category.
You know, what happens is we get stuff that just get thrown at us, and we just go sideways. So it's like we just have to stay focused on what the main priority is, and we haven't been doing it.
You know, I looked at the...
We've been doing other buildings years over year and other
We
things.
did.
And we've been doing a little bit here, a little bit there, but we haven't, I mean, the public is asking us, if we want growth of our town, we need to get serious and say, we need to be able to supply the service that allows our town to grow.
Linda?
I say, I think we did some major projects in the sewer system. One was the Laner Street pump station. The other one is the Mill Street pump station. We put them on, we reached out and got state funding for it. It just doesn't happen overnight. Do we have to build on that? But I won't buy that we haven't done anything, we've only done buildings. I think we've spent a whole lot of money and time and getting grants to that critical part, and we're going after the small pump stations.
I'll be honest, I
We're off
didn't.
topic right now.
No, I'm
Stand by,
answering
would you
his.
please? Please. I did not hear, and maybe you used the word about we haven't done it. I did not hear what you responded to. What I think I'm hearing is, where are we going to spend our time with the town leadership and ourselves? What do we want to do which has a long-term impact on this town? And we've all read what our duties are. We're supposed to lay out roads. We're supposed to be those fiduciary type people. We're supposed to do that. So I think we've done a lot of work, but I think the question is, where do we want to spend our time on a going forward basis? And so you're just infrastructure.
I'm just on the big stuff.
So what do you do with I'm just testing here. What do you do with a comment that says subcommittee dock ordinance? What do you do? Sub it out? Is that what you want to do? Just sub it out? I'm asking.
You've got it in there twice, too. You've got
Yeah.
Oh, as many of these things are in there twice.
Yeah,
Yeah, because fine minds like fine wines,
It's
came
not
up with the same
actually
idea.
21,
Paul,
Yeah.
to that point, there's separate agencies that do all that stuff, and then they come to you and say, this is what it's almost like our water system that comes to us and says, well, you should spend 3% a year. And there actually is an agency out there that goes out there and looks at your stuff and then comes back to you and says, this is what your cost should be. We're not doing, we could hire that out and get that done.
Some of this stuff on this list is already being done.
Yes.
Or has been done.
Yes, yes.
I mean, capital improvement plan, we have that, right?
Right.
I mean, the CIP is a very active group.
Yep.
They do a good job.
Bless their hearts.
We got other stuff in here, highway capital budget. I mean, that's being done. 5-year plans. We've got all kinds of 5-year plans. We got a lot of them. Most of this list is already under Underwood and engineering and stuff as far as water and sewer capacity. That's being done. It's already in the process. We've already gotten one report back, I think, about the sewer plant. So, and
Woodward and Curran, the same thing.
the same thing.
There's at least one person, we can't recognize you. There's at least one person here that feels unsatisfied. And that's me with some of these things, that I don't think I think we need more energy, more intensity, more ergs. Linda, you had your hand up. I interrupted you.
I think I'm with you is saying is, yes, we have a draft capacity study. We did not have the engineer here. I have a whole lot of questions I'd like to know about, and then give some direction on, can we do drip irrigation? How much could we get by I&I? So I think it's not complete. When I see Select Board review CIP, in May, we write the CIP goals. We need to pay attention. And in June, we write the budget goals. And so, to me, that's an area where we have a role.
Brian, what was your categories again?
So I have things that I believe that Steve Randall, our DPW, can do or update for us. He can review and approve the 5-year plan for water and sewer projects and stuff like that. Once we get the studies and we have our meetings, and he has, that information goes to him, so he can do that. Barry can do 10 through 13. He can set a 5-year plan on best practice benchmark for every department in the town. That's his job. He's a town manager. He can work with the town manager to develop larger capital projects and establish annual costs deposited into capital reserve funds. Again, to me, that's a town manager job. 12, working with a town manager to develop maintenance programs, facilities. That's a town manager job. 13, discuss and work with the town manager to develop capital improvement plan goals. That's a town manager job. He can come to us with that information.
Yep, okay, Linda?
Yep, that's when I say we give the direction and they do. Perfect.
And
I'm with you
That's what I
100.
put in as annual goal.
That's
You know,
what
so my bucket would be annual goal on that.
Then I
don't think,
look at the bottom, and 14, 15, say 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21 are all, we should just do them now.
see, and here's how I characterize those. I said, sub them out. Sub those right out. You know, create a bunch of people, give them a remit, and say, come back to us with a recommendation.
So I wasn't looking at
Like next
different-
Thursday.
I wasn't looking at different types of jobs, like all capital improvements got to go here.
Yeah.
All this has to go here. I'm looking at what should we get the hell off of our plate now? We should have this parking lot laid out. We should get that done. We should get the docks and wharf done. It's been long enough. We should get a town manager hired. We need to do that now. This is stuff that we should do right now.
I don't have a problem with that.
So is there a,
And clean that stuff up, because you can't do the big stuff when you have all the little stuff hanging over your
yeah,
head.
that's the crabs in the bucket problem we deal with. The crabs won't let you out of the bucket to escape unless you get the small stuff done.
And it doesn't mean I don't agree with you, John. Yes, capital is important, and doing the roads and bridges, highways, sidewalks, and everything is important. But we can't just keep pushing the little stuff for 2 years. John agrees with me, I think, on this
I
one.
didn't hear him say that.
For 2 years, we've been talking, or a year and a half, we've been talking about the back parking lot and how it's not used according to ordinance. And it's going to be paved and striped this year. So shouldn't we get that in place so there's an ordinance, there's a new parking lot, and it's used however it's supposed to be used, however it works for the community?
Just for clarity, I don't think I heard John talk exclusively about one leaning or another. In fact, I recall a couple of telephone conversations about the back parking lot, because he's as passionate about it as I think you are.
Yeah.
All right? And so I got that part.
Okay.
The question is, where do we want to spend our time? And what outcomes do we want to have so that we can prepare the voters to spend money if we think it's a good idea? Linda?
Go back to the crabs.
In the bucket.
Let's get those items on the agenda. That's what we have. We talk about them, but they don't get onto the agenda. So we as a board or we give to Paul, these are the things you need to get on the agendas.
So I agree with that. We got to get, I look at these things, Brian, and I think John too, these are do nows. You get smart people, you give them a charge, you say, don't come back unless you have an answer, but you got to be back by next Wednesday with an answer. Right?
Let's cut, I think we can combine some of these, cut 20, like Dave said, cut 21 down to 15, create 3 or 4 small subcommittees, and get some of this stuff off of our plate, so then we can then focus on the large capital projects that we need to focus on, the water, the sewer, roadways, all the other stuff.
We'll take that one. We'll do something with that. Let's spend a few minutes just making sure we understand what all of us have written down for items here. I mean, the Libby, at least the Libby to me sounds like an important task. There are two contributions here. Sounds like what we're on the path to do. I'm not minimizing it, but it just sounds like, just keep turning the crank on the Libby. We got to get that resolved. And that's not to minimize the issue. The whole signage thing, I wrote that. I just wrote, fix road and parking signage, align signage to ordinances everywhere. And to me, is that a go-do? Yes. Is that something we could do now? Yes. Is that something that this board has to worry about? I don't think so. Do you?
But it's the direction we give. That's why I go back to direction.
I agree.
That's the direction we say to the town manager. One of the things that we would like to accomplish is this.
And to me, I have that written down as Steve Randall, look at the ordinance, fix the signs.
But
Do
you
you-
go through the town
Through town
manager.
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
through it,
Right.
Tom. John, do you remember, how long did we study wayfinding signs in the town?
And after you studied them, I think you went back at
How
them
long did we
again.
study them?
2 years.
No,
Longer?
longer. Remember?
Yeah.
So I look at something like that and I go, now, here's one that I wrote, so you can yell at me for this. One of the things I think I've heard the members of the public say is, we would like you folks to be the best at everything you do. And that's kind of the message that comes through. And when we say to people, yeah, but we really are. And I would like us to start down the path of saying, well, let me show you how we do that. And we could start with one department a year. We could start with, one function. It doesn't have to be a department. It could be whatever a function is. But at some point, we should be able to answer the question that says we are the best at what we do. That doesn't mean we're the most expensive or the cheapest. It means we're the best. And we have a path to get there. And I think that that's important. For me, I look at an organization and I kind of like seeing stuff like that. Linda, then Brian.
I think it also gives the board and the public to hear the thinking and philosophy of our department heads, and I think that's really important.
So what are we doing with this?
What are you talking about?
What are we doing with this? What are we doing with this list?
I'm explaining it, all right? Don't, you want closure too quickly. We said we're going to take a few minutes. You're still inside the few minutes. Linda made a point, which I want to pick up on. Did you have something, Dave? No?
I'm fine.
Linda made a point, a month ago, was it a month ago when Mr. Randall came and sat with us? That was a big wow. People, I think, fed back and said, wow, it's a big wow. And I think getting our department leadership in front of us, with the help of the town manager is important. Okay, I've exhausted everything I have.
So-
Go ahead, John.
So I did a little bracket action here. 1, 2, and 3.
Bracket action did?
1, 2, and 3 all bracket together. 4 is the start out in front. So you go 4 and then 1, 2, 3. That's one bracket. 5 and 6, they were bracket together.
Hang on a second. So bracket 1. Brian, you're getting scooped here.
One,
No, I have it the same way.
I have,
Oh my
that's
God.
why I have.
Oh my
it
God,
too.
we have alignment.
You're right.
Get a Polaroid camera and get a picture of this. Okay, so 4, 3, 2, 1, John, with 4 being like the boss, right?
4 out in front of 1, 2, and 3.
I got it. All right, what do you got next?
Then what I got next is I've got 10 and 13 with 18 in front of that one, and then 14 in front of that one. So you're going to hire a town manager. You're going to.
You got me confused.
You're going to successfully recruit a town manager. Then you're going to hire a town manager, and then the town manager is going to do 10, 11, 12, and 13 together.
Hang on a second. Now you got me all hosed up. That's okay.
You're going to hire. You're going to recruit a
So
town manager.
18 is like you got to do it.
But, so
Well,
I agree with you, John, but
You're gonna recruit a town manager first, then you're gonna hire a town manager, so you got 14 out in front of 18, and then you got 10, 11, 12, and 13, and the bracket underneath of that.
Hang on, Seneca, what do you got?
Well, that's what I was saying. There's so much duplication in
Yes.
there. And you can bracket a whole bunch of them all together.
so I agree with you, John, but we don't want to wait on 10, 11, 12, and 13 if it takes us 6 months to get a town manager.
But Barry's I'm not downplaying Barry, but he's not gonna be here to do that stuff, and for the long term, that's,
Maybe you could get some of that done in the next 3 months.
Hang on, we're losing control here, but that's good. Dave's laughing over there. Linda?
You're right. We all have our own categories going back to him. Obviously, number 1 on our work plan is hire a town manager. Okay? We all agree on that one?
Also known as give Barry a life.
Yeah, and so we can do that. I kind of with Brian. I think we're at the point where we go back and really take a look at it and group it. And then I send my group to Amy. you send your group to Amy, we get all the groups, which is kind of like the monkey you were talking about, and then we aren't going to spend all time trying to figure out, there may be only a couple that we really need to talk about, and I had 1, 2, 3, and 4 all together. So
Me
did
too.
you. So
Yeah,
did
me
you.
too.
So,
I had strategic and vital numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Then I had 5 and 6 together, John did.
yep, I did
Then
too.
I had 7 and 8 together.
I did
I had
too.
7 and 8 I had 7 as strategic and vital.
And I had 10 to 13 together like John has, but I didn't add the 14 and the 18 because those are in my bottom list that is, get it done right now.
That's a do now.
So we just are naming them different.
Correct.
That's
But
exactly right.
I think we're doing the same thing. And in
exactly
this, I think we're getting a direction. And so I go back to yours. John, you put yours together, I'll put mine together. We send them all to Amy, and Amy takes them and puts them on some kind of a spreadsheet.
I'd like to
And we
introduce a
can
new
see-
category called Do Now. And we haven't figured out who's the doer, but we know that it's an immediate issue. It's to Linda and Brian, it's your point about, somebody offered it today, it's the hierarchy of needs. Get the basics done, which is some of the things that, we should put on the list. John, so I tried to follow your brackets. Where did number 7 come into your bracket?
So I grouped 7, 17, and 19 together.
Okay. That's all part of if you're going to deal with roads, you got to deal with signs, you got to deal with parking spaces, you got to deal with that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Is that kind of your theory?
Yeah, and like Brian says, that's a Steve Randall.
Now read carefully what was written there.
On 7?
Yep,
Yeah.
because I wrote it.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff is due now because he's paving the lot. We have bike trail people coming to us in a couple of weeks, going to be pounding on the door saying, we want more trails. This is stuff we're going to have to decide
That's a do now.
Yeah, we're going to have
Yeah.
to decide them very, very quickly.
Now, I'm back up on number 7. I just want to make sure everybody read that, because my notion here is, whatever, is press down on the accelerator here and determine whether this annual remit of highway funds is sufficient, or is it satisficing? There's a new word for Karen, satisficing. Linda?
We go back to our road surface management plan. We have a
Correct.
plan there, and there is what is Steve Randall's philosophy, and how is he using that to form those things that he feels needs to go forward. That's his thinking. That's how he's organizing.
And the Libby artifacts, we have to get them out before it gets cold in the fall.
Correct.
We
Correct.
should get them out before it gets hot in the summer.
They should have been out already.
So that's a due
Correct.
yesterday.
That's it, yeah, due
Yesterday.
yesterday. But, and John, not to poke at your thing, but saying it's a year of infrastructure, I resonate with that. We got to be mindful that we don't want that to be a figure of speech.
Well, if we want our town to sustain and people to look at us and say, you have a lot, you paying taxes on it, am I ever going to be able to build on it?
Yeah,
Why am I paying taxes if I can't ever build on my lot?
yeah, yeah. I think that's right. I think the for us, at least for me, this grouping of working on the infrastructure is very important. I'm not picking on the words, but calling it the year of infrastructure, at least I wouldn't. I'd say that's a priority of this town, management, governance, if we agree together that it is.
So there's a gentleman out there, Bill T., and he would say, focus on the big stuff.
Do the big stuff. Little stuff takes care of itself. But there's this other management concept that says, if you work on the little things, the big things get done. So it depends on whose book you want to sell. Yeah. But you're right. But the problem, and Brian and Linda have raised it, and I'll raise it too, if you don't work on these little things that are just nipping at our heels, they will suck up board time like crazy. And we've seen that. They will just suck up void time, and the year will go by, and we'll just go, what the hell happened? We were supposed to work on these other things. Okay, so we're gonna end this meeting early. What's the sense of the, Dave's saying hooray, what's the sense of the board on what you want to do? Groupings and get them to Amy?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
You okay with that? You okay with that?
It will
Dave?
get us closer aligned, and then we'll talk a little bit more, and we might have to do a little more tweaking.
Is there any disagreement that this should be a pressing item on our next agenda?
Yeah, for the 6th. We can have these here for the 6th.
Yes, Linda?
I think it should be number one.
Numero uno.
Because if we're going to go through our agendas, and then if we don't make it, the ones at the bottom go to the next, you don't want to take one that went to the bottom the last time and put it at the bottom again. It should go to the top so we complete it.
Brian?
Well, if we might not still complete it next meeting. We hope we will.
Okay, let me rephrase it. It should be at the top so we make sure we address it at that meeting instead of letting it fall to the bottom again.
Yeah.
Correct.
And we should continue the continuity because it's the last thing, it should be the first thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, thank you.
I'll give you, Dave, you have anything on that? I'll give you one other, is we are in the throes, as you all know, of trying to recruit town manager people. And I will bet you better than even money, somebody's out there right now, or maybe tonight after this meeting, looking and saying, what are they doing? And do I want to get signed up for that? Those people out there in TV land are starting to watch. So we owe it to them, and we owe it to the taxpayers to kind of have a theory about what we want to do this year. All right, so we're going to do groupings.
Okay. Yay.
Yay. See, it wasn't that bad. I mean, you were,
All right.
wasn't that bad. All right, what else we got? I think we're done.
You're at other business.
Do
None.
we have other business?
None. Oh, no, old business, none.
We have old business. We have new business. We have other business.
What is that?
Okay?
Are we doing committee reports?
No,
No.
no.
Okay.
No, we're done.
And-
Okay, we are going to go into non-public.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a motion for us to go into non-public. And before I do that, thank you, everybody. Let
Do we
the
have
record
public
show this was a
comment?
record
Yeah,
meeting,
that's-
less than 2 hours.
Well, I think we do have public input, and I think we should hold that.
We have public input. Does anybody want to give us public input? 3 minutes.
We won't count walking time.
Yeah, well, hi, Karen.
It's up to the chair.
Good evening.
Karen Burnett Curie, Wolfeboro. I just want us to reinforce the fact that we citizens are dependent upon you getting our affairs in order, which at this moment in time is our staff. So we're looking to the fact that we have professionals who do a lot of things for us that our town manager supervises, and we're missing, as far as I know, not only a town manager, but a couple of other positions that are absolutely critical, some of which are involved in having updates to them being done, new software and various other upgrades that are absolutely essential to the operation of this town. And while I'm all for the fact that we need to always be paying attention to infrastructure, and we absolutely have to address the Libby Museum and the collection, we right now as citizens need for you guys to get our staff back up, fully staffed and running and operating, which is quite a lot of time and transition as far as I can imagine. So there can be a lot of other little priorities that you might have, but if that isn't the core and essence and everything of what you're doing, then we're going to find ourselves in a very bad place, not too far down the road.
Thank you, Karen.
Can you address that,
What do you want me to?
Chair? No?
Make a motion, we go to non-public.
I have a motion to go into non-public.
I'll second.
I have a second. All those who want to go into non-public say aye.
Aye.
Aye, aye. Unanimous. John, you want to go into non-public?
I raised my.
We're going into non-public unanimous. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you, Timothy.